Sorry.
Hello, we're back.
Oh, we're back. Welcome back. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Knocking the Books, where we talk about books about romance, self-love, romantic love, and all kinds of love written by Black women authors. Today, we're discussing This Could Be Us by the lovely Kennedy Ryan. This is the second book in what I think will be a three-part Skyland series. Like, I know it'll be at least three, because she just dropped at the time of recording this the title reveal for the next character's book. The first book focused on Yasmin. I have a bookmark of that cover right here that Melissa actually got for me. And the second book focuses on Soledad. It is the story of Soledad Barnes, Charles, however she eventually identifies herself, and how she's working on raising her three daughters after she goes through some pretty tragic and frustrating things with her husband and begins to fall in love with another man who is also attached to her husband in a very interesting way. And she's learning to love her family, love her new life, but mostly learn to love herself as she starts to develop romantic love feelings. And I, okay, so I guess let's just jump right in. First, I'm Jolie. I'm a writer in North Carolina, and I really loved this book. But go ahead and introduce.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I'm fill in the blank in North Carolina.
Sorry.
And I also love this book a lot, but also I already passed my reading goal for the year or I'm very close to. So yay!
Yay! I'm
Awesome.
super far from my reading goal. Let me tell you, every year I try to read 12 books, like one book a month at least. But then last year I read like almost 30 books, and I was like, oh, that was easy. So then I set my reading goal at 50 books this year, and girl, I'm at 16. It's not gonna happen.
Get some really short novellas. Is that redundant? Short novellas, whatever. And yeah,
I'm very proud of you.
thank
Let's jump into your one sound and one word reaction to this book.
you. My one word, and it literally just popped up in my head, is fight.
Ooh,
And that can be taken as this will be revealed as we continue talking, but that can be taken in many ways.
yeah.
But yeah, that'll be explained later. And I guess a sound would be like, oh, what would my sound be? My sound is also a word, but you have to, put that certain inflection. It's
It's an onomatopoeia.
yes. Okay.
I studied. I went to college.
So that's the word though. The word is okay. That's the word.
I love that. I can see that. Okay, you're right. You're right. My word is satisfying. Like this book was super satisfying. And my sound is it's a mix of like, huh, but also like not in like a skeptical way, but like in like I hear you kind of way. Like I hear you, God, spirit, universe. Like I hear what you're trying to get me to understand. So it's like, huh. Like every time I read, I'm like, hmm. It's a lot. Okay, so before we get into some of the spoilery parts, do you have any initial non-spoilery thoughts on this second novel in the Skyland series by the lovely Kennedy Ryan?
Um, I will say that, like, I feel like, each book has like a certain theme uh of what the main character or characters are like overcoming and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And I really do enjoy, or I'm enjoying how with the series, like Kennedy Ryan is showing different ways to love, different
Yeah.
ways to be together, different ways to parent or co-parent. Um, and I really like that perspective because I know, like, with romance books, sometimes people are like, oh, it's not realistic or this, that, and the third. And I'm like, well, yeah, things aren't realistic because, this isn't reality. But then at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, there are like bits that like bring you forward to like, okay, this seems pretty real. And like sometimes those bits are things that like I hate that this happened, but it's like, okay,
Yeah.
well, that's probably real. So,
Yeah, I agree with you. I always say like I read these books like right at a time in my life when I need to read them. Like I read the first book Before I Let Go, which is a book that really focuses on grief and depression and self-forgiveness and loss, like during a time where I was experiencing a major loss and a deep depression and needed to work on like self-acceptance and forgiveness. And I would say that This Could Be Us really focuses on self-love and also self-forgiveness, but and also starting over, like being brave enough to like start over and do a new thing. And I'm also reading this at a time in my life where I am trying to start over, new career changes, relationship changes, just do a new thing. And yeah, I love how Kennedy Ryan really puts love at the center of like real life, and she explores the core part of every book is the love between the main characters and their friendships. And she did a really good job in this book, like really pointing that out, not because we have more interactions with all three women than we did in the first book, but also because like in the writing, she's really pointing out how this type of love is just as strong and just as necessary and just as life-saving as the other types of love that someone may experience. And she really goes into like the different types and ways to love someone, and that it doesn't have to be like one size fits all. I think that's like such an important part of this book. Okay, I'll start with the first discussion question where we're going to break down each couple. So first, to introduce our characters, we have Soledad, the main character of the book, friends with Yasmin and Hendrix from the previous book. She is going through recovering from a divorce from her husband, Edward, a white man who did white man billionaire things and embezzled a bunch of money and went to jail and cheated on her and all types of stuff. And she's balancing all that with raising her three daughters and falling in love with Judah, the black man who he works with who put his ass in jail. Judah has two kids who have autism, and he is the ex-husband of Tremaine, who is remarried, and they have a good relationship together. I think those are all of our main characters, and we wanted to talk about like our thoughts on each of the characters as coupled up. So your initial thoughts on, I think we should start with Soledad and Edward because they're like Soledad's the main character.
yeah.
So initial thoughts on Soledad and Edward.
Okay. So, knowing what we know of Soledad and Edward from the last book, like, the last
Mhm.
book kind of gave us a
It
bit of a
ends
lead
kind
in.
of with them like, its tension is building.
Right. So, yeah. It's like at the end of the last book, I think Soledad revealed to Yasmin that, she's like, I think Edward's cheating on me. Like he was saying his assistant's name in his sleep or whatever. And, in the beginning of this book, that comes up again. He's just like, oh, it's just a mistake. I was asleep. We worked together a lot. I'm stressed out.
Fucking Amber.
This black man is putting so much work on me. He's always on my case for a good
Yeah.
reason, as he should be. But anyways. But so it's like you see that their dynamic is, yeah, like they've been together for what almost
Since
what,
college.
yeah, so it's almost like 20 years because they're like
Definitely over 20 years because Lupe is like 16.
15, yeah.
16 at the start of the book. Lupe is their oldest daughter who resembles Edward the most, and they have two other kids, Inez and Lottie, who more resemble their mother.
Yes.
So
So yeah, like their relationship is obviously very strained, like and she's Soledad is trying. Edward doesn't really try, like
Edward was like so it surprises me and doesn't surprise me the level to which cishet men can be manipulative and awful. You know what I mean? Like here you are literally doing crimes, literally having a whole new family, literally with the whole plan to abandon your family and leave the country. But like you talking about how she got a loose pussy. And I'm just
yeah,
like I will never understand the levels of depravity, the level of just complete lack of self-awareness that it takes to blame someone else for the failures in your relationship that you are actively contributing to
yeah,
and never acknowledge your own contribution to it. It was frustrating to read any dialogue with Edward. Um and and I don't, to be clear, I don't think all cishet men behave this way. There are plenty of people um who behave in a way that's just completely disregarding the feelings of other people, but that always just surprises me. It surprises me so much. I
Yeah,
can't imagine not caring that being that selfish. That is true selfishness.
right. So yeah, so that's Edward and Soledad in a nutshell.
We also have two other exes, Tremaine and Judah. Judah Cross is the forensic analysis accountant who discovers Edward's embezzlement and puts him in jail with the help of Soledad. And Tremaine is his former wife. The book actually starts from their perspective when they're going through their divorce and determining who their two sons, Adam and Aaron, are going to live with, and they decide to live with their father full time and their mother on weekends, which was such an interesting dynamic. And yeah, they balance raising their boys and co-parenting. And what did you think about their relationship?
I love their relationship. Like, because like there was no contention with them. Like
Hmm.
it was just like I think for Tremaine, it gave that she kind of realized at first that like,
Yeah.
you know, we're parenting and we're doing that, but we're not like lovers anymore.
Yeah.
Like, she's
I
just like,
think they use,
I need and want more, which
yeah.
is great that she realized that, and they didn't like languish in this whole loveless marriage for years upon years, and figured it out soon enough where I feel like it didn't disrupt their lifestyles too much, or for the boys and everything. So, and even though like in the conversation of them being like, because at first they were going to be with Tremaine full time, and dad Judah on the weekends, but when was it Aaron?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
Aaron, the one
When
who's the least verbal of the
yes,
two.
when he was like used his like communication device and was like, stay with me or whatever. Ah,
No, it was a great way to start the story. And the book also ends with that. Like they resolve their third act conflict with the same language of like stay with me. We'll get to that. We will get to their conflict because I have issues with it. But yeah, I think Tremaine and Judah are like a masterclass in communication. I think part of the way that they were able to amicably divorce, co-parent, support each other in their new relationships is because they didn't hold anything back from each other. Because like the stakes were too high. They have two boys that need them to fuck with each other basically. So like there was no need to hold on to any resentment, and like they really revealed how well they knew each other, but not in a way that was disrespectful to their current partnerships that they enter into. I really loved Tremaine, and I have an interesting casting suggestion for her, which we will get to later. I don't know. I don't know about it. I don't know how it's gonna go. Um, let's talk about let's talk about Soledad and Judah. The main couple of this situation. And the situation is the right word to describe their relationship. Do you want to expand on that?
okay, so more spoilery bits. I mean, we in it now, but
Yeah, we're deep in the pages now.
yes. So as Jolie mentioned, Judah Cross works with Soledad's husband at the time, Edward. He's the forensic accountant. So basically, it is his job at this company to, be looking into all the books and making sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. I'm using words to talk about math, but that's fine. Well, letters, but yeah. So he knows when something in the milk ain't clean,
Hmm.
and this is why Edward is scared because he knows that he ain't been doing what he needed to do. So basically, all that comes up. You know, Soledad and Edward, I think they were in the middle of an argument during dinner one
Yeah,
night.
when the
And
FBI shows up at
yeah,
their house.
FBI shows
An
up and
argument about Judah, because he's just like, oh, he was looking at your ass at the Christmas
right.
party, and he's really like just on my ass about stuff. Edward's an ass man. We can tell. Um, but yeah, yeah, Judah is the one who figures that out, and in the process, but like before he even he's in the midst of discovering what Edward is doing when he meets Soledad at the Christmas party, and it's almost like he immediately falls in love with her.
Mhm.
And not in love, in strong lust, with Soledad. And like from there, like he gets a very special interest in trying to help her after her life falls apart when Edward is arrested. And through that connection, they just grow deeper and deeper together. So yeah, that's how they start. That's how things start out with them. What was I gonna say? But Soledad she kind of pushes it off for like a really long time. Like she doesn't, and I think that's for good reason. Like she just got divorced. This man is responsible for some of that, and she just she really wants to focus more on loving herself. So she kind of just tries to enter into a friends with benefits type of thing with Judah. And what do you think about that?
So, I totally get Soledad's, feeling of wanting to, when we say take it slow, but still,
The fuck?
yeah. So, and like her just, on her journey of what did she call it, dating herself and everything and all of that. I think it was hilarious when Judah's mom was like, "Well, I just don't think she should be having all these girls out here dating themselves when she's dating you." Like,
Good point.
I was like, "Okay, thank you, mama." But I just feel like you can have your cake and eat it too sometimes. And
I
like the cake is right there.
it was a lot. It was good cake, And Judah was willing, you know what I mean? He was willing to like be part of her self-discovery journey until till the third act conflict. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. We have a discussion question in about like whether it was okay for Judah and Soledad to like be attracted to each other while Soledad was married. Um, I want to know what you think because I this was your question.
So,
As a fiance, like since the last time we saw each other, she's a
um, okay. So,
fiance Knowles. I'm sorry, go ahead.
but,
Go
oh my gosh,
ahead.
that's funny. But okay, nothing can stop you from having, being attracted. But I guess it can be like how far are things going? And it's like, okay, you can recognize that, like, oh, they're cute. They have a nice face, but I guess it's like another level when you're like, dang, like,
Yeah,
oh my
I'm
God,
trying to
and
hit
like,
that.
oh wow, they're standing behind me. Oh, but also in her situation, it's like, I mean, your marriage kind of falling apart anyway. So it's just like,
That's my thought. Because, like, Edward had a whole other family. He had a whole other white baby with that girl Amber, who was messing around with her cousin, who won't her cousin Gerald, who worked in IT, which was such a weird little piece of information. I think Kennedy may have just overwritten at that point. But but like I'm like the marriage is more than just like sleeping together. You know what I mean? It's so much as someone who isn't fianced, but like it's so much more commitment, and that commitment had ended long before Soledad even met Judah. You know
yes,
what I mean?
yeah. And I feel like even if Edward hadn't gone to jail, I think, everything was, as far as the marriage, everything was going to come crashing down eventually soon. I mean, Mance was getting ready to go to Bali and hang out with Russell Simmons. So, it's,
Did he too eventually?
I mean, what's his name? Eric, what's his name? Mayor, what's his name in New York? The mayor who just
Oh, Eric Adams.
he didn't get his chance to get out
He was
because
so close.
we know he loves Uncle Rusty too. But
Hmm. Jeez Louise. Again, it never fails it's always surprised me the level of depravity people are willing to dive into. It's just so selfish. It's just I can't imagine being in circumstances where I would need to be that way. But yeah, so I support Soledad and Judah's relationship, especially because eventually off page she does get divorced at some point. Um, and like it's like a year later and she's in the process of like developing her own like following. I want to talk about that for a little bit because that was the most impactful part of the story for me was Soledad not just having good sex with Judah and not just like getting over her relationship with Edward and raising her daughters and getting into deepness with her friendships, but really just her just starting over with her life. Like she had no job, she had no career. She was a housewife for the entire time she was married, and then all of a sudden when their accounts were frozen, she had to figure out how she was going to take care of her kids after Edward went to jail. And so she started creating content on social media, like we're doing right now. And I just found that really inspiring how she just took control of her own life. To me, the love story in this book is the love story between Soledad and herself, like really learning how to that was the real romance, like really learning how to trust herself again, how to acknowledge the role she played in her marriage ending. And not that she did anything actively harmful like Edward did, but she allowed specific treatment. And that was the trust she needed. She needed to know that she wouldn't allow that treatment from someone else ever again. And yeah, and just how she just picked up the pieces and gave herself time, like because the her social media stuff wasn't popping off right away. It was the vinaigrette that like really, which we see in the first book, it was the vinaigrette that like really took off. Also, I tried making that vinaigrette. It is good.
Okay, okay, I need to do
Yes, it's very simple, but it is actually very delicious. It is my favorite salad dressing now.
There's a recipe in here that I want to make too because I actually saw somebody on social media like make they had nothing to do with the book, but they made was it picadillo? Yeah, I think that's it. They made a version of a picadillo, and I was like, oh, this doesn't look too difficult. And I was like, and I have a recipe from my good friend Soledad Soul. So
So
yeah,
we should definitely have a cooking night next time we hang out where we just try the recipes from these books. Reading these books definitely made me hungry, especially this one. There are a lot of cooking moments. Real quick, did you read the book on audiobook or did you read it the hard copy?
a little bit of both. So,
Same.
the first time I read it, it was mostly hard copy. And then the second time, because I was doing a lot of back and forth to Virginia, so um, mostly the audiobook. Um, so yeah, and I have thoughts about that.
Please
Um,
share.
we have 10 minutes, so
We'll stop at like 3.
okay, okay. So I think of course, First Love is a physical book. I'm really branching out now, especially now that we started doing this, like with doing audiobooks and everything. I find that with audiobooks, I like to be driving long distance. Um, I can do it at work sometimes, depending on what I'm doing at work. If it's not something, if I'm doing something more like where I know people aren't going to be talking to me and I don't have to rewind a lot or whatever,
Yeah.
just independent things. And I think also the voice actor that matters a lot.
What did you think of the voice actors for this book?
So the male voice actor is the same one from Before I Let Go, actually.
Oh, I didn't read that one on audiobook. Is
Okay.
he really? Okay.
So I,
That's
I
that's
I like him. Albert doesn't like him because he wanted to listen to this one too, but I was like, I told him I was like, it's the same actor. He's like,
Why doesn't he like him? Is it the
he
graveliness
doesn't
of his
like his voice. Like he said, he feels like he's trying too hard or
He
something.
does. I'm not gonna lie. That man is acting. You know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
not reading, he's acting.
But
You know?
the voice actress for Soledad, I didn't mind her, but I don't like when she goes into reading Judah's dialogue. It,
Mm.
and sometimes I wish he would just come back in and do his parts.
I didn't like when Judah read her dialogue. I could hear his voice getting higher. Like try, I was like, stop, 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 stop. I didn't, but I liked both of them. I really loved the voice actor for Judah. It really, that was exactly what I thought his voice sounded like. And like his straight delivery really fit Judah's character. We realized later on in the book that Judah may be on like the autism spectrum, just like his sons. And like the straight staccato form of delivery, like really kind of put that character into mind for me. One thing I don't like about audiobooks, I prefer reading audiobooks for like biographies or nonfiction type things, but I'll read the occasional like novel over audiobook. It helps you absorb it in a different way. I do not like reading sex scenes in audiobooks. It is I was fast forwarding. I was like, cringe, cringe, cringe. I
Yeah.
don't like it. It was weird. It was weird. I did not like it at all. I'm like getting uncomfortable
No,
right now.
on my second read, I was at work listening to it and I didn't have my AirPods that day, so I just had the phone like I was in towels. So I was like, okay, it can muffle a little bit. But I'm like, 15 seconds, 15 seconds.
Yeah, I was like 15 seconds and they're still fucking. And I'm like, no, I didn't like it at all. Really quick, I'm trying to see if there's one quick question we can answer before we move forward. Do we have time to get into our thoughts on the book cover in the last 7 minutes, or do you want to wait till we start over?
I feel like we
Okay.
could do it.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about this cover. All right. I do I have my other copy? No, I don't have my other copy of Before I Let Go. I loved the Before I Let Go cover. It's like black and white with a little bit of color
It's
in it.
behind me. I might have
Can
to
you
edit this
see
out. I'm not
it?
wearing pants.
Oh no! Booty!
That's gonna make the subscribership go up.
No, oh my God, it's gonna get us flagged. Okay, I think she's a very pretty lady. She's just not, and also we already talked about the flowers being different. I like your flowers better than I like mine. But the sticker that we have, I hate when places do that. This is not what I thought Soledad looked like.
Thank you. Soledad doesn't look like this. Also, Soledad, it's a melting pot. Soledad's mom is Afro-Latina.
Yes, and
Soledad,
her father's white.
yes.
Who's that? She. I don't. It's not who I picture. We'll
This
talk
is
more.
Lola.
Yes, I thought the same thing.
Um, Soledad has two sisters, Nayeli,
Nayeli,
Lola.
and
Nayeli.
Lola.
Lola's father is black.
Yes.
This is Lola. If
Yeah.
anything. I think Soledad probably have like a rounder face, maybe. I
I
don't know.
don't know.
But but she'd be a lot lighter.
I actually think she'd be darker since she's part Afro Latin, which I
But
don't
she's
know.
like a quarter of the
Yeah,
Afro.
I guess she's a quarter black, I suppose. But she claims being BIPOC, so I don't know. I just didn't picture that she would look like this. She's beautiful. I'm not knocking this cover model. She a beautiful lady, but
Yeah.
that's just not who I imagine she looked like. And it makes me nervous about how they're going to cast Hendrix. Like Hendrix is dark skinned and like really bold, and I'm like, y'all better pick the right character, the right cover model for that one. I also wished it was black and white. If it was black and white like we had with Yasmin, like then maybe we would have less contention in the
Yeah.
cover. You know what I mean? Your big ass book in my bookmark. It's like, yeah. I don't know. I like the title. This Could Be Us is a really good title. I thought she was gonna go with the song cover like she did for Before I
Oh
Let
yeah.
Go. But This Could Be Us really fits the story.
Well,
But yeah,
I keep thinking about Ray Shrimmer. So
maybe that's what she was thinking about too. Judah says this could be us multiple times in their conflict, but which we will get to. We will get to their conflict next, after our little break. So
okay. But
let's
but no, you think she would be darker?
I did. I don't know. I guess that makes sense because like she keeps talking about like how her mother, like I know she has a white. I feel like they modeled her off of how they think Inez. I don't know. Inez doesn't look like this either. Inez looks white. They keep talking about how Inez looks white. So I don't know. I don't know.
No, Lupe looks white.
No, I'm sorry. Not I meant Lupe, the older one, the older redhead one. I don't know. I just didn't think she
Well,
would look like this.
I guess I guess in my Negro mind, I guess I just think, oh, you're Latina, you're automatically light skinned. But of
You're
course,
gonna be
like
like high yellow,
it's
right?
a yeah, it's a
But the way she keeps talking about how Lupe looks absolutely nothing like her, and I was like, okay, like it's skin tone, it's more like she is very obviously Latina, and she embraces her Afro Latina-ness. So I'm just like, maybe she's more obviously Afro Latina. And I saw this girl as more obviously like Latina than Afro Latina. Besides the Afro hair,
Mhm.
like I just saw someone as more, and there's nothing wrong with being Latina, but I just thought I would see more of a Rosario Dawson type face. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? Not that that's who I would cast because I have specifics on the casting, but I just wasn't expecting this beautiful woman with her hibiscus flowers, even though it should be jasmine because that's what she smells like.
Yeah. Hey, I want to smell like something. Anyways,
Like
okay.
something, Melissa. I
I
think
mean,
you
like,
smell great.
huh?
I think you smell great.
Yeah, but what would somebody describe it as?
I
Like
don't
something.
know. Next time I smell you, I'll let you know. I've been told I smell like coconuts, which is weird because I don't own nothing coconut.
So since we were just talking about uh Soledad sisters briefly, kind of wanted to do a little bit of more of an intro on them because that's another important relationship in her life other than her man and
Hmm.
her friends, her
And her
sister,
kids.
and her kids. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm excited to get into the
It's
kids,
not
but
F them kids over here. It's not F them kids over here until it is F them kids over here.
at one point I was like, fuck them kids. Go
No, see, that's why I said not until, but we're not there yet. But okay,
ahead.
so Soledad is Soledad in the middle?
I think she is the middle child.
Yeah, so Lola's the
No,
oldest.
no, no. She's the oldest. No, wait. She's the youngest because her father came after Bray, who was the other girl's father.
So
Bray
not
was
Latina.
the Bray was the Afro Latina guy her husband her mom was married to first. No. Yeah, Soledad's the middle because the oldest one, Lola, has the Afro-Latino father and like the black grandma in South Carolina. And then it's Soledad with the white daddy, and then their youngest Nay, who also has the white daddy.
Mhm.
I think his name was like Jason or something, George. I don't know.
I think Jason. I think
Yeah,
it's
I think it
Jason.
was George. That was the whitest name I could think of.
Maybe I don't remember. I don't remember Bray being he was Afro-Latino. I thought he was just
Because
black.
remember, their grandmama was black and lived in South Carolina, and like
Oh, right, because she wasn't their grandmother, but they did go visit too.
they
She
went to
wanted to
spend
see
and
her.
like the last Christmas they had together, there was like Puerto Rican and oxtails like cooking in the kitchen, like on their last Christmas that they had together, before their abuela died. Like so yeah, they're the oldest, the first love of her mother was a black man. Um, and their mother identified as Afro-Latina.
Right.
And then the second love of her mother was a white or standard Latin. Please don't include that. Was a different man.
European, white
Anyway,
Latin. Yeah, I don't know. But
but yeah,
anyways,
she has two sisters, and Soledad's in the middle.
so for most of the book, like they communicate via FaceTime calls, the Bariqua High Council, as they
Yeah,
call it, which is really cute. And let's see, Lola's single, but
she's in
she's like
love
in
with her
love with
best
her
friend.
best friend. So I believe she's bi, but
Hmm.
she's in love with her female best friend, and they are like opening a bookstore together. So they're embarking on a business venture and also figuring out, I guess, like their relationship as well. And Nayeli is married, and she has like
A
five,
million kids.
six
I think she
kids.
got like six.
I think they said like she just leaned hard into the Catholicism, and
Yeah, because they were raised Catholic.
yeah. So no birth control for a good minute. So yeah, she's out there mothering in California. And
Mhm.
Lola was still in South Carolina. No.
Yes, she was
Yeah.
still in, or was she still in Puerto Rico and they were moving to Austin?
No,
I don't know.
I think she was still in South Carolina because I think she lived in their childhood home. Is that what
She
it
lived
was?
in their mother's childhood home, yes.
Yeah.
But like, so a little bit of that is confusing, or maybe, but I've read the book like three times at this point, and I don't remember because Lola was eventually sent to live with their grandmother in South Carolina because she wasn't like
She was
she and her mother
passing.
weren't getting along. So like I assume they lived somewhere else. But regardless, were they in Florida? She's in Florida.
No, I
She's in
thought they grew up in South Carolina and then
Mm-mm.
she went to Puerto Rico.
No, like the grandma was in South. I think they were in Florida. I think they were raised in Florida. And I don't know, but we could regardless, they were raised somewhere else. And Lola's living in their mama's old house. And she's like, I want to sell the house. Or she's like, what do we do with the house now that I move out of it? And they're just like, nah, we're not gonna sell it, we're gonna Airbnb, let's fix it up. And they go to the house and they bond over their mother's memories. Wherever the house is, we will put it in post where
Yeah.
their mama lives. Because
Don't unfollow us, y'all. This is real, okay? This is real stuff. This is what happens when you read a lot and you be
all
like,
the
how you be like,
details
oh, I
are
read this
all
book,
over
I
the
loved
place.
it. And people be like,
I
tell us
know
about it. And then you
Henderson
be
mama
like,
lives in Charlotte. I know that much.
can't wait to learn more about that.
Yes.
Well,
Oh
Okay, so
yeah,
her sisters
her sister.
and their strong bond. And her mom, Catalea, we only hear about her in flashback,
Because she passed
but
away from cancer.
cancer, yes. But that's a very strong relationship as well, and kind of like informs some of the things that happen in the book, especially because uh Soledad has access to her mom's like old diaries and is able to
Hmm.
like read about how, her mom did strongly love her father, but she also strongly loved Lola's father. And, when Jason
Hmm.
passed away,
She got
her,
back with Brett.
yeah, but and it was like I think she read like a passage in her mom's diary about, her still having passion for Bray, and he would still come around, of course, like dropping off his daughter, but she at some point she was just like, I can't do this with you, I love my husband, and he would just kind of like not come in anymore and just like drop off the
I
door. Interesting perspective.
I really liked how, like, the reason she ended her relationship with Bray was because he cheated on her. And she was just like, I don't do three strikes or anything that, like, the moment you show you do not care about me, it's over. You know what I mean? And she stood on that, but she also was still getting a little bit on the side. But she recognized that she needed a different type of love. Soledad's mom, and we'll get more into this later, but she's like one of the lessons that I took away from the book about learning the type of love you want and the type of love that you need. Like they're two different, they're both important. And Soledad comes to learn that in the relationship, but she wanted that passionate fire that she had with Bray, and she needed for herself and her family the type of love that she explains is like a seed that like you plant and it grows, it slowly grows and becomes like encompassing your whole life. And she also speaks a lot about her heartbreak, like her heartbreak from Bray, and also when her husband passes away, when Jason passes away, like she says a line like she's not a butterfly anymore, like she's not she's a hornet, like she can love and she can sting, like, and that kind of gives Soledad a lot of strength to like learn to love, but also learn to like take care of herself, not to lose herself in her love. I just love that we get to see a lot of Soledad's family in this book because I think all of these different types of relationships really shape how Soledad comes to just learn really important lessons about what love can look like. Like it's her love, it's the love between her sister and her best friend, the love for her sisters, the love between her other sister and her kids, the love for her own kids, the love for a man, the love that still exists between her and her mother, even though her mother is gone. Like Soledad just after like such a complete heartbreak, the love in her life just grows significantly. And I think it's just really beautiful. And you can really see that play out with her family.
Yeah. And something I just thought of while you were saying that, like culturally, like um in like Black families and Latino families, like closeness is such a big thing. It's just like the fact that
In each other's business.
yeah, pretty much. And like the fact that like, okay, so Tremaine and Judah, they still have their bond. And what I think at the end when they all have, come to dinner when Soledad makes dinner
Yeah.
for, just this is a whole blend of a family. So, it's Soledad's girls and Judah's boys and Tremaine and her new husband. And I can just imagine like them all, next fall going to the fall festival together, and them seeing somebody from school and somebody asking Inez, "Oh, who's that pretty brown woman over there?" Talking about Tremaine, and she'll be like, "Oh, that's my mom's boyfriend's."
That's my
That,
bon
that's
that's my
not that's
bonus
fam.
mama.
That's fam,
That's
right?
family. I
And
love
that's it.
that.
Yeah.
The last book we read, The Neighbor Favor, also features like a really tight-knit family. And that's also a romance book, but it explores how you need more than just your man. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need your sisters, whether they come in the form of blood sisters, which we both have, or they come in the form of deep emotional friendship connections, which we also both have, which we have with each other. It's just you need the full expanse of love, and again Soledad's family really shows how important that is. Let's switch gears to the kids real quick because we mentioned Aaron and Adam and we mentioned Inez and Lottie. We haven't mentioned Lottie at all actually, and and what's her name? I forgot her name. Lupe. You mentioned Inez, Lottie, and Lupe. Uh, them kids. Let's actually just dive straight into Inez. Inez. I would love to read a book about her life as she grows older. That's why I'm like, maybe the Skyland series isn't going to be three. Maybe there's going to be a bit more. Inez is a daddy's girl. She is obsessed with her father, Edward. She is on her daddy's side. And part of that's because Soledad shields her from a lot of stuff her dad does. But she blames her mother for her dad going to jail, for everything. And Inez is, ooh, mm, I get it though, because she's just a kid. She's just a kid. She's
So, and that, so go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say she's like 13, 12.
Yeah, because Lupe's like 16. Lottie's the youngest. Lottie's like seven, like 7 or 9. And Inez is in middle school. So she'd be like she's like 12 or 13. So Inez I like a very specific scene where Inez and Soledad are driving in the car, and Inez says something, even though I can't remember it. And Soledad points out, like, you deliberately tried to hurt my feelings. I have never done that to you, and like forced her to sit and explain why she did that. And I saw in that moment that, like, Inez is grieving. She's grieving the loss of her entire family structure and also the loss of what she thought was reality, like who she thought her father was. Um, and while I understand it, she was a little asshole, man. She was so mean and snotty and like unnecessarily aggressive with her mom. And man, I hope I wasn't like that when I was a teenager.
I know it really makes you think back, like,
It does. It's like, shoot, like, what was I that mean to my mom? Oh my gosh. And
oh,
Soledad was trying, man. She had so
what?
much to deal with, and she really tried to like keep them kids alive and also like not make them hate their dad as much as she hated their dad. That
Yeah.
was so important. Like she was co-parenting for two people, for both parents. It's just, whew, man.
It's just like, it's so, like, yes, Inez is young and she is going through a lot, but it's like you don't see all the stuff your mom is doing to just keep a roof over your head. Like the fact that she was able to keep the house, the fact that she was able to keep y'all in that expensive ass private school,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that she didn't just go, the fact that she kept going.
Yeah, for real.
I mean,
Like
she did a lot.
Inez should have been idolizing Soledad a little bit more. You see a little bit how Lupe does. Like Lupe is like she's older, she's the oldest, and she
Yeah.
was already intuitive and picking up on things between her parents anyway. But like you can see, especially by the end of the book, like Lupe decides she wants no relationship with Edward at all going forward. Although Inez and Lottie are still like figuring things out with their father, even though like by the very, very end of the book, they won't have that opportunity to any longer. We'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that next, actually. But Lupe, Lupe eventually, like she starts, and Soledad starts realizing that her daughter is proud of her, and that makes her, it just gives her more energy to like go forward. Before we switch gears, while we're still on the subject of kids, let's talk a little bit about Aaron and Adam. They're pretty minor characters, but they're a big part of Judah's life. They're his two sons with autism, and excuse me, Kennedy Ryan, she also has a child with autism. I think she mentions at the beginning of the book, or someone who's on the spectrum, however they choose to identify it. And yeah, I really liked how the one thing that stood out to me about them was there was no like, oh, we got to fix them. We got to like change who they are. It's like, how can we build a life around who they are? And there's multiple times in the book where they're just very unapologetic about the way they raise their kids. And Judy even speaks about how he had to cut off Tremaine's parents a little bit because they were just like, oh, let's like beat and starve the autism out of these kids, which is also very unfortunately normal in Black, Latino families of color. So, yeah,
Yeah. I really loved, Soledad and
Aaron.
Aaron's first meeting. That
Yeah.
was just so beautiful because I think like in a world that sounds so, but
In a
but
world.
in a world where everybody wants seen,
Mm,
to be seen by and somebody with autism, I think it's really special
yeah,
because
it's a privilege.
right, and like they're letting you into their world by just a small gesture of like letting you sit with them and work on the Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I just think that's so cool. Like I've had the opportunity to like work with some children on the spectrum before, and I mean they were integrated into, it was not everybody who I worked with had autism. This specific child did, and there are good days and bad days, and one day he told me he hated me, but then when he saw me, what, a month or two later after he had started middle school, and he was like, I miss you, and I'm just like, you don't miss me, not me.
Yeah.
He's just a sweet, sweet, sweet child who, has his days as we all do. But I feel like, you take the time to like get to know them and you see like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. And I hope you know that. So I
Mm.
just that part just really made me like,
Yeah.
it was good. So
I also like how Judah is very clear that there may be a time he will never be free of his children. Like he'll probably have to take care of them for the rest of his life, and he plans on even taking care of them into the afterlife. Like he is actively planning, and that dictates or it adds information to how Soledad and Judah's relationship will or should go. So let's speed to the ending real fast, because that's also part of it. Really quickly, let's talk about what happens with Edward because I think that would be like the fastest thing to like go through. Do you want to give a little background? Do you want to give a little background on what goes on with Edward and where he ends up by the end of the book?
yeah. So Edward gets arrested. He is sentenced to like a, probably low security
Hmm.
prison. He
And then he
does,
gets out early because the
yeah,
lawyer does some
right.
trickery.
Right. I think he was supposed to do like a year or something, but he
No,
gets
he did over a
he
year.
did over a year. Okay.
Yeah, but he was supposed to do like 6 years or something, and he ends up like getting out like with like in under 2 or 3. Like, but he
Oh,
because that's the timeline of the book is a little confusing because they don't put dates in there.
right.
It's just like, oh, suddenly we're a year later, they're divorced and stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah.
but like I think the whole book takes place over the course of like 2 years.
Okay. All right. So he does get out early. Of course, he had an accomplice in all of this. The
And
Amber, his assistant, who he was having an affair with, and I guess she, used her feminine wiles to pull Gerald, the cousin from IT,
cousin
in onto.
Gerald.
So like Amber never really, her consequences were not bad either. I don't think she did any time, but Gerald did.
Gerald
But
does
they,
time, but Amber does have a baby.
Amber has a baby. Yeah, she has a baby with Edward, very obviously Edward's baby, because unfortunately Soledad saw the baby and was like, that baby looked like my oldest.
Hmm.
So, anyways, but basically, after he gets out, at some point, him and Amber use whatever nest egg they had hidden and flee, flee the country, never to be heard from again.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I feel like it was bittersweet.
This man abandons his children, which is crazy to me. Again, we go into the depravity. Like I just don't understand it. And like
I I wanted a lot worse for him, honestly.
me too. I wanted, I don't know, I wanted him to have to reckon with his children. I wanted to see that on the page. And in the end, Soledad, once again, she says earlier in the book that like she hates having to always be the one to like break her children's heart, her children heart, the hearts of her children. But like in the end, when Judah tells her, like, oh, I have to tell you something, like Edward has fled the country and like fled the country and you will never like he's never coming back. And like Soledad being like, I'm gonna have to tell my kids this, like, but I'm gonna worry about that after I get ate out by this man. But he like I felt so bad for her kids, like to
Yeah.
just know that this man did not care about you as much as you cared about him. Like I can't imagine that from a parent. A parent just like forgetting about it. He insisted on how much he loved his kids, but it's just like, no, you didn't. And yeah, I want it worse for him. And I'm interested in seeing how, if we ever see how his three daughters navigate their lives without their father in it. Fucking Edward.
You have to hear the story from Inez because that is would be interesting because she was
The closest.
loyal to a fault for her
Yeah.
dad.
I hope we get some more about Inez. We get a lot about Lupe. We got a lot about Deja. Deja's my favorite character in Yasmin's book. So maybe we'll see a little bit of Inez in Hendrik's book. We'll see.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the ending of Judah and Soledad, the ending, the beginning, whatever. Okay, from the beginning. All right, I'm just going to get into this. Okay, so from the beginning, Soledad was like, I'm dating myself, even though I really want to fuck you. And they start fucking, and Judah's like, I'm cool with it, even though he is really not cool with it. He's like, I want this woman to be my woman. I ain't had sex with nobody else in like 40 years. And like, I got this big old box of condoms and I'm trying to use it. I'm in love. I'm talking to my mama about this girl. And Soledad's like, I'm not ready. And like, I get it. I get it. I get that you're not ready. And like, I understand I was so inspired by her. I'm dating myself journey and stuff. But then like, she still wants to fuck with this man. And then she fucks with this man. And this man is all cool with until all of a sudden, literally out of nowhere, he's just not. He's not in the middle of her going through a stressful time. Like she's talking to him about something. He's just like, yeah, well, maybe you shouldn't like. I'm like, why are you fussing at her? Like, why are you yelling at this woman who's crying to you about how you mad because she don't want to be your girlfriend, but you knew she didn't want to be your girlfriend? And he's like, we can't break up if we were never together. Get the fuck out of my. He don't say get the fuck out of my house, but he's just like, and she's just like, what's happening? And I'm also like, what is happening? Like, where is this coming from? Why are you so deep in your feelings? And then they just resolve the whole thing because his son has a seizure. She shows up at the hospital, or she shows up at the hospital or at his house, and then they fuck and they're fine. They didn't resolve shit. Like they didn't figure out what their relationship was going to be. They didn't decide. Like she's just like, oh, I never want to get married, and he was like, okay, and like
Oh,
just like, are you getting what you want? And then
okay.
they have a family dinner with macaroni and cheese, and that's it. It was like, so wait, what did we decide? Like, what are we doing? I don't
I
understand.
One day I'm gonna write a book and you're gonna be my editor and we're gonna have a session just like this and you're gonna close up all my plot
How
holes
did
in
you
my
get
brain.
here is my question. I'm gonna keep asking you. What did Deborah Cox say? How did we get here? Like, I don't understand how we got here. I'm glad they end up together. I'm glad they're embracing a non-traditional relationship, but we do not see any of that resolution. Like in every romance novel has a third act conflict. It's normal. It's usually some form of miscommunication, but this wasn't even miscommunicated. This nigga just got mad. And I'm just like, I didn't like it. I did not like how the book ended. I didn't like it at all. And it felt like Soledad just all of a sudden was like, oh, I can love others and love myself. The end.
I think for me, like I was just waiting for her to finally be like, girl, we don't have to like I said, have your cake and eat it too. It's
Yeah.
so yummy. It's chocolate and yeah. But but like there was something really profound that her sister said that was like this needed to be said to her. I think Lola said this because yeah, this is when she was like, broken up with Judah or whatever, and they were like asking her how she felt, and
Mm-hmm.
she was just like, I care about him. I miss him so much it hurts. But you guys, what if I make the same mistakes I made before? It hasn't been that long since my divorce. Don't I need more time? And I'd never highlight in books. This is highlight. Can we even see? Come on, there
Yeah.
we go.
Why am I trying to help you?
But I appreciate it. It worked. It manifested.
It
Now,
did.
whatever. So Lola says, you've taken time and you've done a lot of work on yourself. When are we ever done working on ourselves? I believe wholeness is not a destination, but a lifetime process. Something that instead of waiting for, you could be living for. And
Hmm.
that's it right there, girl. You better live
Live
what
your
I did.
life.
Live what I did. Live for your kids. Live for your career. Live for that.
Was that your favorite line from the book?
I just really like that part. Like reading it and listening to it too. It's like rewind because
Yeah.
it just hits so hard because it's just like I feel like sometimes people be like, oh, I'll do this when I get this, or
Yeah.
I can't be this until this. And I think I tell myself sometimes I tell myself that too. But you're just like, no, I can be that or do that
Yeah.
today.
Today. I think the first book was about grief and this book is about growth. Like it is a process. Like her channel had to grow, her heart had to grow, her definition of love had to grow. I love that line and I love that lesson of just like you never stop evolving. You never get this and then all of a sudden you're ready. There's no such thing as ready. There's definitely such a thing as not ready, but there's no such thing as ready. You know what I mean? And I I'm glad she comes to realize it. I just wish there was just more than just mac and cheese, at the end. Can I tell you my favorite line in the book?
Yeah.
My favorite line has nothing to do with any of this. But wait, let me see. Did I write it down? Or I could turn to it. Duh. I took my bookmark out, so now I don't know where it is.
Was it page 237? I see your notable
Yes,
quote.
thank you. Shout out to Pass Me. My favorite line in the book comes from Hendrix, who's my favorite character of the three, and I cannot wait for her book. Do not disappoint me, Kennedy Ryan. You never have though. Um, she says, "How can I be my ancestors' wildest dreams, settling for some mid dick? I can't let them down like that." And I thought that was so beautiful. I just thought that was so impactful. Like, yes, like, well, how could like you gotta live I heard a quote recently that was like, you have to live your life from the perspective of your death. How is it that you want, when you die, what is it that you wish you would have done? What is it that you like wanted to do? And like, those are the things that are important to you. Those are the things that you value. And I'm just like, yeah, that's true. Like, we can't, like, you have to live. You have, like how you were saying about Lola's quotes, like, you have to live. You shouldn't settle and you shouldn't stop yourself from going after the things that you want. Soledad wants some good dick. Not Soledad. Hendrix wants some good dick. And like she deserves it. Her ancestors want that for her. And I thought that was my favorite quote there are a lot of good quotes in this book, but it was my favorite quote in the whole book. And I want to be clear and say that I'm happy that Soledad and Judah end up together. It's just how? How? And I'm glad that Adam's okay because he had a seizure, but he's fine.
Um,
Um, any final like lessons or takeaways that you got from this book that you want to share with the class?
I think just like self-love is important, but it is okay while you're working on yourself to also accept other things into your life,
Yeah.
especially if like that makes your life easier and makes you happier. Don't deny it, don't question it, and live for yourself. And
Yeah.
what I did.
It's okay to try. I think I learned that like there's so many lessons in this book about self-love and but also like just about like life has to be what you make it. It's not like a one size fits all thing. I think they even point that lesson is even in Lupe's friend's mom who has cancer, like who like in the end she recovers, she goes into remission, but throughout the book it's kind of like a looming cloud over the story, like someone may like lose their life. It really just highlights the importance of living a life that you think is worth it and putting value into your own life and not letting anyone else take that value away from you. I just felt really encouraged by the end of this book. That's why I thought it was satisfying. Like it was great. Really quickly, what was our casting? Um, who would you have play who in this
Okay.
book? Let's start with
Um,
Judah.
I don't even know if I can one for him.
Okay, I did. Remember that guy who played Jerome on the game? Like with med school's boyfriend after she left Derwin? I think his name is McCad. Hold on,
Oh, yes.
McCad Rashad Brooks.
Yes.
McCad Brooks. Don't you see it? You can see it, right?
Oh, yeah. I can't.
He's
He's
perfect.
perfect. Oh
He's
my God.
perfect.
Oh, that man. No, I went to
I
see Mortal
mean,
Kombat with Albert and he was Jax. Those arms. Whew.
Like he's the height he has. He even has a narrator's voice, honestly. I like
Yes.
and like, but it has to specifically, no offense, it has to specifically be him with hair because now he's bald and beautiful,
Yeah.
which is I love it. I love a milk dud, but like it's specifically him in the game. Uh-oh, our
Yeah.
free
Yeah.
meeting will end in 10 minutes. All right, we got time. We got time.
Are
Um,
you good for time too? I know you have.
I know, but like it's fine.
Okay.
Oh, it's fine. Okay. That's to be fine. Who did you have playing Soledad?
It was hard for me because okay, I
Me
think I
too.
seen her
Soledad was
like
hard.
I see her like two different ways. I see her like Afro Latina, and then sometimes I see her like more Latina than Afro.
Hmm.
And maybe the book cover was just kind of,
It
in
was
the
in
back of
your
my
head.
mind,
Same.
just making things like, I don't know. And so I was trying to, who's like an actress who is Afro Latina, but she doesn't get to like play Latina a lot. That's who I
Mm,
want to play her. Somebody like
okay.
that.
I picked an author who I thought would play her. Like I picked Elizabeth Acevedo because to me she is a woman who really works hard to exemplify and balance her Afro and Latina. And I'm
Mhm.
just like, I don't know, she's who I started picturing as I read the books. So I think she could play her. I also had a casting for Lupe, even though she's not like a main character. I pole dance in my spare time, and like one of my favorite pole dancers is Sammy Picone. I'll type it in the doc so you'll be able to see it later. Sammy Picone, I picture like a young Sammy. She's a biracial woman with like really huge red hair. She was featured in Rihanna's first Savage Fenty campaign, and like I just every time Lupe came on the page, I just pictured a very young Sammy Picone. And I thought that was like really cool. And I had another casting for Tremaine. I picked. Did you have any other castings, real quick? Like,
I want to hear your casting for Tremaine because I'm just excited. But I thought about somebody too for Tremaine.
hmm. Ooh,
I was thinking like Issa, right?
okay. That the vibe I went for was similar. I also picked a dark-skinned black woman comedian. I picked like a young Kimberly Waynes, like the Waynes brothers' sister. I don't know
Yeah.
why I went that vibe, but I'm
Uh,
just like, she's like, she's, I don't know, just a funny black woman. Like,
yeah.
I really picked her.
She
Did
has
you
a
cast anyone else? Did you cast Edward? I just picked the most generic as white. I didn't pick anybody. I was like, generic white. It's fine.
No, but I cast Hendrix because I was thinking about her a lot, and I was like, I'm excited for her book. Um, Divine Joy Randolph.
Ooh, yes. Yeah, I
I
like
don't.
that.
I thought Hendrix was supposed to be taller. She might.
She is supposed to be tall.
Right. I don't think Randolph's all that tall, but I just feel like the energy is there.
It's big dick
Like,
energy, as Hendrik says.
yeah.
Um, I guess that's it. We need to talk about what our next read is going to be. I suggested either Queenie or All About Love. All About Love features like really heavily in this book, and we haven't read a nonfiction since we started this book club. But I don't know. It's honestly it's up to you. Like, is there anything that you've been wanting to read that we can just make that our next read? We didn't think this through, and we have 5 minutes to figure it
I'm indecisive, but I
out.
own All About Love.
Okay, so do I. Do you want to
Let's
do you want
let's
to do
do
it?
it. Let's do
Okay,
it.
for our next installment of Knocking the Books, we have decided to take a page out of Soledad's book and read a very seminal text for her journey, and that is All About Love by Bell Hooks. I love your cover. I just realized that mine is like a first edition of, I'm like, I didn't know that.
I
So
like your cover.
thank you. It's super
Why?
old. I got it from the used section of the Strand in New York. I have read this before, but it's been years. So I'm very excited to dive back into it.
Okay, Strand.
Yeah, shout out to the Strand. They don't let you film in there, which is annoying, like, but whatever. But
Okay,
yeah,
cool. I'm
we're
excited.
I'm excited for you. This is our first nonfiction in this version of the book club, so I hope y'all join us for this. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye? So long, farewell to you, my friend.
Y'all, it's fall. I feel like Knocking the Book thrives during the fall. But we gonna thrive in the other seasons too. But I just want everybody to live your life, live for yourself
Life and get good dick on behalf of your
on
ancestors.
behalf of your ancestors. They
And
want it.
read this book. It's good. Oh, final rating. We didn't do that. What's your final rating? 5 stars for me. I love this.
Oh, wow. So, oh, I didn't expect you to give it a five.
You know, I never give five, but I really love
I
this.
didn't
It
expect
was
you to give
5 stars
five.
for me. It was my first 5 star of the year, I think.
Well, I'm just taking a half away because I don't think Edward suffered enough.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I could take a half because of the ending of Soledad and Judah, but like, I like mac and cheese. What can I say? So,
So then it's like,
five.
should I give it five too? Because everything else is very
No,
positive. I
don't
don't know.
live your life, not mine.
I'm gonna live my life for 4.5 then, I guess.
Okay, shout out to This Could Be Us. Five, four, three, two, one. We'll see y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.